Now at 10, Kansas lawmakers move closer to luring two professional sports teams across the Show Me State line. Plus, it's election night in Oklahoma. We'll have the latest on local races in the Sooner State. And the public heads out to Joplin's Mercy Park for a tie-dye party.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Kansas lawmakers move one step closer to luring the Kansas City Chiefs and Royals across the state line. This is KOAM News at 10. I'm Dow Quick. Legislators today passed a bipartisan plan to allow Kansas to issue bonds to cover up to 70% of the cost of new stadiums for the two teams. The state would pay off the bonds over 30 years with revenue from sports betting, lottery ticket sales, and new sales and alcohol taxes around the stadium sites. The bill now heads to Governor Laura Kelly's desk to be signed into law. Missouri Governor Mike Parson, on the other hand, had this to say about the potential move.
Well, I think every day we're working on that. We'll see what Kansas does, but I think you got to realize the contract's not up till 2031. So there's a little bit of time left to be able to see what we're going to do. But look, we're going to be competitive. We're not just going to roll over and let Kansas come in here and take two major franchises out of our state without having some sort of package ourselves.
Kansas lawmakers pursued the offer after voters on the Missouri side of the Kansas City area refused in April to extend a tax to keep up the team's stadiums. Voters in Oklahoma cast their ballots for a few races today in Ottawa, Delaware, and Craig counties that included the Republican primary for state senator for District 1. Michael Bergstrom beats out Houston Britton for that spot. For the Republican nomination for Delaware County Sheriff, Ray Thomas wins over James Beck. Incumbent Delaware County Clerk Barbara Barnes once again wins the Republican nomination. She beats out Gina Yeager, and the town of Bernice, Oklahoma votes to extend a 1.5% sales tax to fund city projects. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy now for a first look at the weather.
Well, of course, another hot one for us today. Temperatures, they warmed into lower 90s for highs, a little bit above where we should be for this time of the year. Average highs 87. We started at 75. Record 100 set back in 1952. But look at this. It's still warm. 79 Carthage, 81 Miami, 80 in Pittsburgh. So temperatures, they're up there. They're going to slowly drop off. We still kind of have that southerly wind kind of kicking in. And we are tracking some thunderstorms out to the west. A couple little guys just to the west of the viewing area. They're weakening as they push in, but we are going to get some scattered thunderstorms, especially Yates Center, Fredonia, Neodesha, Iola, Chanute chances later on tonight. We do have some rain chances tomorrow, and then our heat and humidity really start to kick in. We're going to look at all that here in just a bit.
See you soon. A federal court judge today sentenced a Joplin chiropractor for receiving and distributing child pornography. Eric Hedman was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison without parole. The court also sentenced Hedman to 10 years of supervised release following incarceration, and Hedman will have to register as a sex offender. Hedman, who operated his own practice at Hedman Chiropractic at the time of the offense, pleaded guilty back on December 14th. Joplin authorities today released the name of the suspect in last night's double shooting, and we're learning more about the circumstances. They've arrested 19-year-old D.W. Bryant of Joplin. Police were seeking charges for first-degree assault, first-degree robbery, and armed criminal action. Police believe Bryant shot two men on the 1700 block of South Annie Baxter Avenue last night while trying to steal marijuana from one of them. The shooter fled the scene, but officers found Bryant nearby and initially arrested him for outstanding warrants. Police later determined he was a suspect in the shootings. The two victims are a 19-year-old man who was shot in the abdomen and a 20-year-old man who had multiple gunshot wounds to both legs. At last report, they were both considered to be in serious but stable condition. No one was seriously hurt in this traffic accident involving a Jasper County deputy today in Joplin. Happened at the intersection of 7th and Main Street just before 11. Authorities say the driver of a pickup truck failed to yield at the intersection and struck the deputy's vehicle. Beautification projects in Fort Scott, Kansas are underway, focusing on parks like 3rd Street Park. 3rd Street Park's bathroom is being updated with locks, security cameras, and more. According to city officials, the project is paid for with grants and the bathrooms are set to open in a couple of weeks.
You know, just adding some things like toilet paper holders, paper towel holders, trash cans, things that we didn't have before previously. It was very bare minimum before.
Gunn Park and Ellis Park also have beautification projects underway. Some of the upgrades to the parks on 3rd and Wilson might have to do with a fire incident just 3 days ago. The Fort Scott Police Department observed smoke coming from the playground area. Fire crews arrived to find a piece of playground equipment fully engulfed in flames. While there are currently no suspects, this incident is under investigation as an arson. That playground equipment is valued at about $1,000. The Carthage Chamber of Commerce celebrated a milestone for a local landmark today. The Precious Moments Chapel and Gardens turned 35 years old. This anniversary and an event and a ribbon cutting marked the occasion. The event served not only as a way to look back on the chapel's history, but also as a way to look forward.
Carthage has been so wonderful. They welcomed Mr. Butcher here. He was from Michigan and he came to Carthage to build his chapel. They welcomed him with open arms and he built his dream here, and they have been so supportive of us. Every year we have Precious Moments Week in July where we celebrate being a part of the community.
The occasion marked one of the first events since Precious Moments founder and creator Sam Butcher passed away. He died last month at the age of 85. Some Joplin residents tonight added a little color to their wardrobes. The group Joplin Equality hosted a tie-dye night at Mercy Park. Folks were able to swing by with white clothes, turn them into a unique kaleidoscope of works of art. It was open to anyone, no matter how much tie-dyeing experience they might have had. Autopsy results reveal the cause of death for a University of Missouri student. That's coming up, but first, the Biden administration makes another executive order on undocumented immigrants, the second in the past month. President Biden announced new protections for hundreds of thousands of undocumented people living in the U.S. who are married to American citizens. It's the second time in the past month the president has taken executive action on immigration. Skylar Henry reports.
The Biden administration's new move could bring relief to hundreds of thousands of immigrants living in the United States without legal status who are married to Americans.
The Statue of Liberty is not some relic of American history. It still stands for who we are.
Under the election year plan, the program will offer legal status and a streamlined path to permanent residency and eventually citizenship. Those applying must have lived in the U.S. for at least a decade as of Monday and be married to an American citizen.
But I also refuse to believe that for us to continue to be America that embraces immigration, we have to give up securing our border. They're false choices.
The new policy comes after Biden saw major pushback from progressives who disagreed with the crackdown he announced earlier this month to try and limit asylum seekers crossing the southern border. Former President Donald Trump, on the campaign trail in Wisconsin, briefly touched on the hot-button immigration issue.
Joe Biden's formally granting he's going to formally grant a mass amnesty to millions of illegal aliens that came into our country.
R. Singh, who came to the U.S. from India 11 years ago and overstayed a visa, is married to an American citizen.
It's very stressful to think about him having to leave.
The program will allow some undocumented spouses to stay in the country during the application process, protected from deportation and eligible to work legally. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
President Biden announced the new plan as he marked the 12th anniversary of the DACA program, protecting people who came to the U.S. as children from deportation. Today, Biden also expanded work visas for some of those so-called dreamers. Autopsy results are in for Riley Strain, the college student whose body was discovered weeks after he disappeared in Nashville. According to the medical examiner, the 22-year-old died from an accidental drowning and alcohol intoxication. The Metropolitan Nashville Police say Strain became separated from his friends after having numerous alcoholic drinks in several bars back on March 8th. Detectives say it appears Strain, unfamiliar with the area, fell off a steep embankment and landed in the Cumberland River. The University of Missouri College student's remains were found on March 22nd. A little later, a sweltering heat wave bakes millions across the United States.
Plus, we're going to start to heat up even more as we go through the next few days. We're going to look at that coming up. Well, it turned out to be a hot, humid day, but a nice Tuesday for us across the region. Temperatures were they were up there into the lower 90s, and it looks pretty good right now. Next shot of our Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Indigo is just outside of Seneca, Missouri. All right, so let's take a brief look at the summer. So this is actually a setup that we're going to see over the next week. Right now, high pressure right on top of us, and this is not what we saw last summer. So about 2/3 of the summer, it's going to sit right on top of us. And what it does is it brings up a little bit more tropical moisture, meaning temperatures won't be as hot this summer, but the humidity is going to be higher. So it's a give or take. And then about 1/3 of the pattern, the cycling weather pattern, is going to be similar to what we had last summer, where the high pressure is to our west, and we get a drier heat, and those will be the times that will allow us to pop over 100 degrees. But overall, I think temperatures near normal. Rain's sadly a little bit below normal. Look at this, still sitting lower 80s right now. We can go outside sitting at 80. Southerly winds at about 11. Gusts still at about 20 to 21 miles per hour. We had gusts earlier today, 35-ish across the region, but still kind of breezy. Those are going to die down throughout the overnight hours, tracking some storms out to the west. These have been strong to severe storms right across central Kansas. And as these work in, they're kind of falling apart. So once they get into our western counties, I'm not anticipating anything very strong or severe. You may get a little gust front of wind, but you can see these storms all the way up into the northern plains. So let me walk you through time. We're going to stop 2 a.m. Some of these storms affecting Yates Center, Fredonia, Neodesha, Chanute, up toward Iola, and then really just kind of fall apart. So random showers in our northern counties to start the day. Then we are all dry all morning, upper 80s by noon, and once we get into the afternoon, isolated hit and miss storms pop up. Most of you will stay dry because these are going to be very hit and miss. Once we lose the heating of the day, clear out tomorrow night. We drop back again near 70, and then on Thursday, we're going to be dry. I mean, there could be a random sprinkle, but high temps, once again, right around 90 degrees on Thursday afternoon. Day planner for you tomorrow. 72 in the morning, 86 by noon. High temp, 89 degrees. Heat indices still kind of up there. It's going to feel kind of 91 to 95 degrees across the region. And if we look down the road, so temperatures near 90 the rest of the week. As we get into the weekend, we are going to get some thunderstorms late Saturday night. Some of those could be a little bit stronger, and then just kind of hit and miss storms most of next week. But the heat and the humidity really start to pump in next week, so we're going to have days that are into the mid 90s, if not upper 90s for next week. 89 tomorrow, 89 on Thursday. 91 on Friday, 94 Saturday. Thunderstorms late Saturday night into Sunday morning, and then those hit and miss guys all next week. But look at those temps. We'll have heat indices above 100 degrees, so it's going to get hot.
What if I'm not ready for heat indices above 100?
It's almost the 4th of July. It's right around the corner.
That's true.
Yes.
It's later than it seems, I guess. Thanks, Doug. Hey, wildfires are raging in the West, forcing evacuations in New Mexico and California. Meanwhile, millions in the Northeast and Midwest are facing sweltering temperatures. It's even worse than it is here. All of this as parts of the South are under a tropical storm warning. Leah Waldman has the latest.
A wall of smoke filled the sky in New Mexico as two wildfires converged like a pair of tongs around the village of Ruidoso, where thousands of people were forced to leave their homes.
It's going to take a lot to get everything back, but you know, as long as lives are saved and homes are always replaceable.
The area in an extreme drought for nearly a year. In California, several fires are burning across the state. More than 1,000 firefighters are working to contain the post-fire, which has burned more than 15,000 acres since Saturday. Winds and rugged terrain making the firefight more challenging.
We're talking between 50 and 60 miles an hour gust up on the ridges.
Across the country, New York's Governor Kathy Hochul is alerting parts of the state for a heat wave not seen in decades, activating the National Guard and opening cooling centers.
We don't need any fancy data to tell us this. It's going to be extremely hot and uncomfortable. In fact, it'll be dangerously hot.
Dangerous heat is hitting major metropolitan areas from Chicago to Boston. Meanwhile, in the Gulf, the hurricane season's first threat is churning. The National Hurricane Center predicts the tropical system will unload torrential rains, bringing flooding threats to the U.S., western Gulf Coast, parts of Central America, and parts of Mexico. In New York, I'm Lee Waldman reporting.
Still ahead, Pitt State Athletics announces a new class of Hall of Fame inductees, and 3 Gorilla softball players are named Academic All-Americans. John Dales has those stories and more up next.
Pitt State softball is getting the job done both on the diamond and in the classroom. College sports communicators announced today that 3 members of the Gorillas team receive Academic All-American honors. Heather Arnett is named a first-team Academic All-American. She has a 3.8 GPA while pursuing a bachelor's degree in elementary education. This comes after Arnett was also named a first-team All-American from the National Fast Pitch Coaches Association. Hannah Burnett is a second-team Academic All-American and has a perfect 4.0 GPA. While pursuing a Master's of Business Administration, she was a third-team All-American on the field. And Hannah Martin is a third-team honoree. She also has a perfect 4.0 GPA as a history major. Pittsburgh State Athletics announces its 2024 Hall of Fame class today. 8 Gorilla alumni will be inducted into the Hall of Fame the weekend of October 5th. Plenty of names you might recognize, including current PSU women's basketball head coach Amanda David, 2011 national champion and former NFL wide receiver John Brown, along with Pitt State football current assistant coach and passing game coordinator Mark Smith. We have more details on all 8 inductees over on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com/sports. Missouri Southern Softball has 4 players signed to its 2025 recruiting class. The team announces this week. Ashlyn Hewlett, who just graduated from Rogers High School in Arkansas. Her high school teammate, Cadence Janney, also from Rogers. Bailey Jonah Dillon from Olathe North, and Easton Walter from Green Valley High School in Missouri. All 4 of them eligible to play next season. Cy Darnell, who just redshirted his freshman year at Missouri Southern, is playing for the Jefferson City Renegades this summer. Today, he's named the Mink League Player of the Week. The 2023 Webb City grad is batting .500 in his last 4 games, and he leads the league with his .400 batting average on the season. The Joplin Outlaws are more than a quarter of the way through their inaugural season in the Mid-America League. They enter play tonight in sole possession of second place. They face Abilene, who's in sole possession of first place. This one has been back and forth for most of the night. The Outlaws opened up a 4-0 lead, but after that point, the Flying Bison scored 5 unanswered runs. Joplin then tied it at 5. As we come on the air, these two are tied at 6 in the bottom of the ninth inning. Over to Major League Baseball. If the postseason were to start today, both the Royals and Cardinals would be in control of the second wild card spot in their respective league. The Cardinals beat the Marlins in 12 innings last night. Tonight they lose in 10 innings. Final score in this contest 9-8. Cards scored 1 run in the top of the 10th to take the lead, but allowed 2 runs to score in the bottom half of the inning. They end up losing on a walk-off single. Series finale between these two is tomorrow morning, 11:30, over in Miami. Over on the West Coast, Royals are having all sorts of trouble with the last place A's tonight. Game not done as we come on the air, but Kansas City trails 7-3 in the top of the 6th inning. The Royals have scored their 3 runs off a home run from Nick Lofton and an RBI groundout from Michael Garcia. This is game 1 of a 3-game series between the Royals and A's. What might be interesting for Royals fans to know, this is going to be the last time they ever play in Oakland because the A's are out of there to Sacramento for the next 2 years, and after that, they go to Vegas.
Wow, just like the Raiders.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of Oakland on to Vegas. We'll be right back. After months of repairs, NASA's Voyager 1 space probe is back on track. This comes after Voyager 1 started sending back corrupted data last November. Engineers worked for months to troubleshoot the problem. They eventually tracked the problem to a chip in the spacecraft's flight data system. Voyager 1 is now more than 15 billion miles away from Earth. It was launched in 1977 along with its sister craft, the Voyager 2. They're now the longest operating and longest traveling spacecrafts in history. Voyager 1 travels roughly 1 million miles per day. And you thought your odometer was turning over fast.
It's crazy. Gosh, 50 years old, over 50 years old, still rolling.
Still going. Your mic, you're not wearing your mic, but I am. So you can speak into mine. So how about a weather update?
All right, looks pretty good for us tonight. Temperatures are going to drop back near 70. Let's go 89 tomorrow. A few hit and miss storms. 89 on Thursday, 94 on Saturday.
Get my mic back. How about a final sports note?
The Outlaws still tied in that game in Abilene. They're into the bottom of the 10th inning. Win or lose, they're still going to play each other again tomorrow. But you'd obviously like to get the win once you're in at the 10th inning now.
And the Outlaws are playing the Flying Buffaloes.
Bison. Flying Bison.
Flying Buffalo. That's where buffalo wings come from.
Oh,
perhaps. Thanks for joining us. Morning show starts at 5 a.m. Let's make it a great tomorrow.